One of the most anticipated cars of the year, the all-new Jaguar F-PACE, today in our full driving review on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas. We're going to take a look at the exterior, interior and the driving experience, of course. We will tell you everything you need to know about this car, about the engines, about the competitors, how close or not close is it to the Land Rover sisters. Everything we're going to cover right now on Autogefühl in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! Let's start with the front design. This is here the S version, which is available for the big diesel or the big petrol engine version. This one here, the big diesel, telling you more about that very soon. The headlights, very slim, and they have the Jaguar J-blade design with the daytime running lights. The S version is stronger in the front, the black glossy grille and strong air intakes here at the lower part, as well as the bumper is a little bit stronger. But overall, already in the basis version, the Jaguar F-PACE has a really big stance on the road from the front and is arguably one of the most beautiful SUVs on the market right now. And there will soon be discussions which one is the most beautiful one now, the Volvo XC90 or this one. Put me your opinion in the comments. Here you can also see the front camera, and this is here the cover for the sensor that's behind it for the front assist and stuff. And you see, when you don't have this option picked with the ACC, the automatic cruise control, then you got a 3D logo, which is more beautiful, but then you don't have this option. So yeah, it's a bit, what shall I do? But in that way, I would prefer a 3D logo here. But I will also go for the ACC, so, well, it's tricky. And now the side profile is really impressive because we got a sensual design. We don't have too many design lines, not a very joyful design. It's kept simple, and that is, in my opinion, what good automotive design is about, definitely. The car starts with 18-inch alloys from standard equipment. That's already quite big for a standard equipment, but this one here has 22-inch rims. And I'm really looking forward to if this will be uncomfortable in riding. We can answer you that question later. In the S line here, also in a black trim. So I'm usually also not really favoring silver cars, but here with the F-PACE and also with this black contrast, it's really looking impressive. Or what's your opinion? You see the design line is coupe sedan-like, especially we got this coupe style ending here, and very strong shoulders, and overall really such a beauty in an SUV. But we won't lose so much space on the inside. I can show you that later. 4.73 m, and right here at the rear of the Jaguar F-PACE, you see the window is very slim. That will limit the visibility, but of course it looks spectacular from the outside. The tail lights, they have been inspired by the F-Type, or formerly already the E-Type, with the swinging form in the lower part, also very horizontal drawn and all the way to the sides. Then usually if we have the 3-liter diesel, it says here 3.0 diesel, but if you have the S version, this one is kind of hidden. So if you have the S version, you cannot really very well differentiate if you got the big petrol or the big diesel engine. Big diesel drivers will probably be happy about that. And also in the S version, we got the black contrast here with this diffuser style at the rear part, to chrome exhaust, so this one looks also pretty massive. And some comments to the chassis, and that will also be a big differentiation. For example, if you think, oh, is it just a Range Rover Sport with Jaguar logo? No, it's not. First of all, the all-wheel drive is completely different. It's not a permanent like 50-50 front rear. Also not like in the small Land Rovers where you have front plus rear. This all-wheel drive has been carried over from the Jaguar F-Type. It means rear plus front. That's one big point. And we got an all aluminum chassis here, which is, for example, also been used modified way, the same plan for the Jaguar XE and the Jaguar XF. And so this one is also way lighter, for example, 300 kilograms lighter than a Range Rover Sport. The hood is, for example, from aluminum. The whole chassis, you see what you see beneath here is all from aluminum. That saves weight, of course. And just the doors here, they are from steel, so they got a very interesting mix here. And so overall, the car is lighter than other competitors at the same size. Let's talk about the engines and also a little bit of prices that will lead us to the competitors. So we basically start with a 2-liter diesel with 180 horsepower, 4-cylinder. Then this one here is a 6-cylinder, the V6 diesel with 300 horsepower, massive power output. The acceleration figure, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 0 to 60 miles an hour, is 6.2 seconds. That's just a little bit slower than the V6 petrol, which is at 5.5 seconds in the acceleration figure. And the V6 petrol is available with 340 and 380 horsepower, as in the other Jaguar models, of course. Prices start about right over 40,000 euros in Germany, and so if you go for the V6 diesel, 57,000, and then V6 petrol, 75,000. And so you got a range really from 40 to 80,000 euros approximately. It will be approximately the same also in other markets. And where does it lead us also for the competition? So I have compared prices, also the length of the other SUVs, and of course the engines. And the one that comes close are, for example, the Mercedes GLC. If you pick the small diesel, for example, then they are quite equal in price and also in the power. But then if you go for the bigger engines, for example the big diesel or the big petrol engines, then it comes close to a Porsche Macan, because the Macan is not yet available with very, very small engines. And of course there's also a BMW X4, so the X3 as a coupe, which is also a little bit more expensive and also with a little bit bigger engines. So those ones are the main competitors. But this one here is also a rather long SUV in the compact segment, so it's a transition between the compact and the big one. So Jaguar tried to find their own niche with this car. This is the key we get here for the Jaguar F-PACE with a hanger, and this is the optional independent heating system that is available as well. But there's also another alternative, and that is this one here. And it's, well, an activity bracelet. It's, just from rubber. And there's also a card explaining how it works, and I will show you, because there's a possibility I can just leave the key inside, for example, in the middle console. That's it. And now we go to the rear with that one here, because when you, for example, go with a bike, or even better, when you go surfing, for example, some activity, then you maybe just want to get the original key. Maybe the key gets damaged or gets wet. Then you can just wear this one, and you see, today it also would fit perfectly. Just, well, I don't like to wear this rubber stuff around my, but you know, I would just like maybe put it in the pocket. So you go to the Jaguar logo and place it right here and listen. Maybe you heard it, and also you see now that the side mirrors have been flipped in, so the car is closed now. Then you can go cycling or surfing or whatever. And well, I've tested it a couple of times now, and out of 3 tries it worked twice. At one try it, you know, I don't know, didn't really work, so I had to retry it again. So I would say it's a very nice idea, but it's not working like 100%, more like 80 or 90. And now to open again, hold it again right there, and well, this time it worked directly. And we had a couple of times as well where it didn't work to reopen the car. But then you can also help yourself and use the button for the hatch, and again press it here and then use the button for the hatch. That also helps when it didn't work for the first time. But overall, nice system, but I would not recommend it yet. And now to the true interior, door test. What do you think about the door sound? Mediocre, I would say, but the door handle feels quite solid. This is the interior, the S interior. Usually you get seats with the S interior then with leather on the outside and at least some microfiber on the inside. Please go for them if you go for the S version. Don't pick those optional leather seats. You will regret it definitely. Also in the R Sport version, that is, you know, not with so much power, just the design line, you get a leather cloth mix. That is possible as well, at least. And only pure cloth option is then with the lowest trim level. Probably just go for that one. Inside of the doors, a very sensual line. Also here the ambient lights will appear on there. And we see they have really worked on the quality. This is leather red, then faux leather. And also the structure here, the inside of the doors. This is everything solid. If we compare all these details really from the pre-production model we had in the static version, this one here already looks better. And this is here the cockpit overview. Very appealing from the design aspect. At the moment I have everything left off that you can enjoy it here so far. And there's also big standard equipment coming with this car. For example, 2-zone AC, the air conditioning, Bluetooth connection is available. The dashboard is from leather red, from faux leather. Just this one here is plastic, everything else leather red. And that's a good option here as well. And well, not so many cars, even the very high-class, premium, expensive one, they don't come with so many options. Also the park distance control is from standard equipment and the autonomous emergency braking assistant. Really good that they have included that one here from the standard one. Thumbs up for the Jaguar engineers, definitely. Then the steering wheel is a pretty compact one. It reminds of the one just from the F-Type or the new XE. They have made it all equal now, and therefore you already got also a sporty feeling here. The seating position is very high, definitely. You feel like in a true SUV, and more about that when we drive the car, of course, with this massive diesel here. In the S version, we also got the S logo on the steering wheel, and you see we got an interior with a lot of contrast stitches here on the leather red icons. In generally, how does it work with the trim levels? Pure is the standard one. Just go for that one and pick some of the options. Pretty fine, you can also get the cloth seats. Then there's either the luxury direction with prestige and portfolio, but then you just get the real leather stuff. And then you go in the sporty direction with R Sport, the design line, or the S combined with the bigger engines. Then you also can get microfiber at least on the inside and a more sporty interior. And last but not least, we see this kind of XJ inspired hoop around here. So we got this, you know, in the yacht style inspiration that the interior follows a circle around right here. Also interesting. What about those displays? Let's dig deeper here. So first of all, you get 2 different sizes for that one. This one here is the bigger one. You can also go for a smaller one. This one here, the bigger one, for over 2,000 euros extra, but then also includes a GPS. But you can go also for the smaller one and then use the GPS from your smartphone. And pick the smartphone connectivity. And then also optional, you get the digital instruments. You do not have to pick them, but you can. And then you have two huge digital screens. Some love it, some hate it. What about you? Into the details of the instruments, the central one with the speed, right RPM, left you can, for example, just have an analog digital clock. And you can also set some other stuff, the settings here, for example. And for example, also set this flashlight effect. Then only the part where you are in the speed region is displayed. Well, it's some playing around with that one definitely. And of course you can show the driving assistance, trip computer, vehicle settings here, and also the music sources. So plenty of options here. That's the one advantage you have. Head-up display, it's not flickering in real life. That has something to do with the frame rate and stuff from the camera, but there's also a head-up display optionally available now. And now the huge screen here. For example, you can get to the AC functions right here. You can put them lower, but also here digital away. You can, where the vents are coming from, for example. You can also do everything with the screen then here now. You can connect your phone via Bluetooth, for example, or also with the in-control apps. That is available right here. How those ones work, there's a separate video for that on Autogefühl. It is linked in the video description. You have to put your USB phone in there then. And well, the only disadvantage is you need the app for this. It's not like with Apple CarPlay where you plug in and that's it. Here you need the in-control apps also on your phone. To me, this is not the best solution. Then, what else is possible? Media player, USB music or iPhone music via Bluetooth. The GPS, I can show you that one as well. That is how you can cancel a route very fast. And this is the overall map. You can browse like in that one like with an iPhone or with an iPad. You can see they also worked on those reaction times, and I really liked it. However, when you put in an address, that could work a little bit faster. It's a big step forward already, but not the best system I know on the market. And the manual AC unit, even if you got it just on one vent, it's already quite loud, I must say. But they've worked on the buttons that you also got a nice clicking sound here now, and I like the clear display for the temperature. Seat heating will be available when you press this one here, and then you have to go up in the menu again. So that's maybe not the best solution that you have to do it like this. And we're getting closer to driving, and there the Jaguar Drive Selector welcomes us, pops out, and you can switch then go into drive mode, for example, or into neutral. We can also hear the sound very soon. And the driving modes, they are available, eco, just standard one, or for off-road, that more torque is also distributed to the front wheels, or the race mode to reduce the electronic stability control, that you can have more fun. Storage space, well, the one at the inside of the doors looks quite spacious, definitely. And then to the glove box, you see, wow, it's a beautiful Jaguar cover here. I like those details. But the glove box, well, that could be softened up in the falling down process a little bit. Could be improved. Then maybe smartphone in front of the gear shifting lever that will pop out. I will soon show you that. Beverage holders, you can also just close them. And then the middle armrest, where you also find the USB plugs for your smartphone, also for the in-control apps. We will soon show you that as well. HDMI and a SIM card if you want to use that one. And 12-watt power supply is available as well here. And at the very top, we also got a nice microfiber ceiling here. I love that. But you should maybe comp that one, that it always stays very beautiful. And here for your glasses, a small space. We don't really see many Land Rover resemblance on the interior, but this one here, that the buttons for the windows are placed very high here. That is a little bit alike like in the Land Rover. And well, one disadvantage is when you have your arm right here, and then it's not that easy to look like a zombie action here, like when you open and close the windows. I will kill you all. And to sum up the seating position in the front again, as I said, very high, and the overall really comfortable. You got a good view to the front, and I would just like to relax now. Maybe have a short break here, but no, we'll continue for you, our review, of course. And electric controls, this depends also on the trim level. Here, as everything is electric, you can even lengthen electronically the front part of the seat here for tall people. That's a very good thing. Oh wow, got a lot of support beneath your knees and really feels very good. Well, just the buttons of this one here, also of the lumbar support, they feel a little bit cheap, but everything else, if you also compare it to the pre-production model in the static review, they have really stepped up the game. So I'm overall very satisfied with the build quality also in the interior. Let's get in the rear. And interesting is that the keyless function, you can just hold your hand at the front handles, but here also at the rear handles also works. Nice. Then we can get to the rear. Also got the central design here on the inside of the doors, also in the rear part. Very beautiful again. So let's get inside. As I said, it's a very long SUV. I got the seat as I would be driving. There's enough knee space left, but I mean, for the length of the car, it could be even longer, because this result we, for example, also have in a lot shorter SUVs. So the using of space we have is not the best. Headspace without panoramic roof is like this. Again, well, the car is focused on a great design, and see that also limits a little bit from the headspace. The bench here behind me, I can flip it, but I can also adjust it, and with this button here, which was the same in the Jaguar XK for the convertible roof, and which were the window openers in the Ford Mondeo like 15 years ago. So obviously they still get this button from the Ford's parts bin. Very interesting fact. Maybe they shouldn't do that. You can put it all the way to the back to go in a rather sleeping position, and it's optional, of course, this function here. And you can also put it more in the front. Wow, the electric motor, the small, is really working. Then you have a rather upright seating position. Overall, it's quite okay, but I've really experienced more comfortable seating positions in SUVs in the rear. It's good that you're still sitting upright, but you see the space I have here, where you miss a smaller driver, but overall, we see the space in the rear is not the main selling point for the Jaguar F-PACE. And optionally, you can also get some luxury equipment for the rear passengers, that you can also control the temperature here. But you know, features like those, even with seat heating here, but that one only works when the engine is running. At the moment, not just the ignition is running, 12-volt power supply. Features like those really easily step up the price, and maybe you don't want to have an F-PACE with the double of the basis price. Opening the trunk either with the button right here or also with the key if you have the option, and sensors. Yeah, that's quite a good result. And let's see if you can also adjust the height. Let's just do that. Oh, that should have been working. Let's see. We close it again and then we try to open it. We just imagine we would have a very low basement garage or a very low single garage, and then it should stop right here. Yeah, it does. And then if you want to move it again to the maximum point and then hold it again for a longer while until you hear the sound. There it is. You see the maximum position, well, about 190, other than that. But that's good position to load everything in. And obviously the most practical, the most versatile Jaguar ever then. Well, the Active Sport Brake maybe, but that's not available for the new generation yet. So at the moment it is this one here definitely. And see, we are not that limited in the luggage space. It's quite wide. Also goes wide in there, and so a good offering for your family, definitely. 12-volt power supply right here. Fixations for tension belts. Well, I would like to see real metal fixations for tension belts, not this plastic one. That is missing, in my opinion. Well, we got them here optionally at the lower part. That will do quite well then. So you can also, for example, here close and open them to. There it is. Press it. You can remove them or just slide them here where you want to have them. And then let's look beneath that one here. No replacement tire. You see here the battery is placed. It also has something to do with weight distribution, because this SUV, as big as it is, has a weight distribution of 50-50, like a sports car. Very interesting. And then we can flip the seats from here as well. Good that they have implemented that one in here, and that's it. And then you have a rather even loading area and really a lot of space. I can also put the front seat in the front the way that is possible. With those electric seats, you cannot really flip it totally, like with some manual seats, but like this it's possible. Let's see how far it goes. The other way around would also be possible, that you can really lie it flat, but probably one of the very few Jaguars where you can really put a bicycle or a surfboard in or something like that. So, and I really liked it. And there it is. Let's see how far it goes. That's the way. And then you could, for example, remove the head restraint. And then about this cover here, because the cover of the trunk is sometimes a little bit annoying, then you can also remove that one. And probably one of the very few Jaguar tests where we have tested that one, because here it's really relevant for the very first time, or maybe second time after the sport brake. That's the cover here, and then you can see this is quite good space. Would also fit for my handlebars of my fat mountain bike. And what is quite nice, we got those loading covers here. I would protect them with the contrast color inside. I'm not sure if it's illuminated. It's probably yes, but I cannot see it right now. It's too bright at the moment. And the closing test of the hatch sensitivity. Yeah, that's good. And even as a parent, you get the information, hey, the head of your child was just a bit mixed up between the hatch and the head has not been cut off. Well done, Jaguar, here in that case. We start driving the Jaguar F-PACE, and we'll start with a dynamic test because it's supposed also to be a dynamic Jaguar car. We start in the normal driving mode. The diesel has a lot of power, as I said, 6.2 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers. And well, they say this car would be even stiffer, has a better torsional stiffness than the Porsche Macan. Let's see if that feels true. And then we'll also go to the dynamic mode later on and see what are the differences. And we can, of course, experience here on this airfield what about suspension and the steering. So I can already tell you right now, it does feel sporty, definitely, but very comfortable at the same time. We are about 100 kilometers an hour now. As for the speed, steadily increasing it, but I got a good control with the steering wheel. You see, the commands are rather direct. Got a slalom here, and we'll soon, round by round, of course, also increase the speed. Really gives me a good natural feeling. It reminds me a little bit of the Range Rover Sport in the hand, but just a little bit. But it's true, this car definitely feels way lighter. It is way lighter, and you directly feel that. So the big question is, if you're more like of a Jaguar sedan driver and want to have it sporty still, but need the versatility and the comfort of an SUV, can you still go for that one, have a very sporty experience? Well, you have more curve tilting with that one here than in a Jaguar sedan, definitely, but it's still a nice sporty experience, definitely. And the diesel always has power. You don't have to wait for the turbo to set in. That's working pretty well. So, of course, our luggage is going round and round. So, and what I also feel that the weight distribution is rather equal. So there's no huge under or oversteering. And I can test now the race mode, dynamic mode. Let's see how much different that one will bring us. This car also is equipped with torque vectoring that helps to push the car in the corners. Now I got a more direct throttle input. Going a little bit faster now. I got better support now from the suspension. The steering wheel gets a little bit soft sometimes. Now the tires are also screaming, a little bit of a tilting. But when I hit the throttle, there it is. Yeah, that is nice. Got some sliding now, but the car is really gentle. It's rather neutral, of course. It's not such a racing car than a sedan would be. You still feel the weight and the tilting because the car sits relatively high. But for an SUV, you can have a lot of fun with it. Pressing the throttle very hard now. Yeah, good performance from the diesel. So performance-wise, there's not, such a big difference from the petrol. But of course, the diesel here, you do hear that there's a different sound, of course, than petrol always sounds better and it's a little bit more refined. So, wow. So an SUV definitely to have fun. Also with the sport experience. Well, the power is really good. I can also tell you something about maybe you see it in the center display, but I can also tell you how the acceleration. See from 70 to 100. Let's go now. And that's it, 110 already. So also good performance in the higher speed levels. Let's push it once more here. Gives me a safe feeling. Also those sport seats here, they offer me a good side support. Now in a very tight corner, very good to control the car, definitely. But overall, I would of course not directly take it. If I just want a sports car, then of course a lower sitting car would be better for you. And now to a rather calmer part, because who will take an F-PACE on the racetrack? Probably no one, and well, you can do it, but I would also not recommend it. So we're going to cover the normal driving aspects here now. I'll also go back to the normal driving mode and just relax. Predominantly we will have more rear-wheel drive, and as soon as there's some slippery conditions, more torque will be distributed to the front tires, and that's also the big difference to the bigger Land Rover models, as there's more set on the permanent all-wheel drive, and the small Land Rover models is more front plus rear then. We also test the GPS meanwhile then while it's running. What is not that good is when I turn down the volume of the GPS, it's not staying that way. With the next command, it sets in automatically again. That's not the best adjustment then. We're going to talk about sound insulation, of course, and also the normal suspension setup, visibility, and also just how it feels just when the normal driving is happening. The control of the display, when you're, for example, standing at the traffic light, it's quite intuitional, definitely. There's also an options button, and you can, for example, also set systems of the GPS while I'm at traffic light. So let's see how fast can I, for example, find the audio option for the GPS, that I can put that one away. So all settings, and well, it's not too easy to find. That's always a sign for that the level of intuition could be improved a little bit, because with some other systems I would maybe already have found the system where I can put off that one. So let's see, care about that one later. See that start-stop function was activated as well. I also have the shifting pedals here, and they also feel quite good now. I can shift down or up, and when I hold the pedals, everything goes to the normal automatic mode again. There's no real hotkey that I can jump again to the map, so you have to go to the main menu again, then hit the GPS. Also maybe not the best solution. In general, I get the impression that the car is relatively silent. There's nothing happening so much around here, just rolling. The diesel, you do hear a little bit it's diesel, but the 3-liter diesel is a very, very classic one at Jaguar. So we know this engine already and has a very good performance, definitely. We cannot do a real consumption test here today. We will do that maybe at a later stage. So steering, just when, mistake by me. That's when you're waiting for a train to pass by and don't realize that people are already waiting. Thought they were just parking on the road. But you see here, the steering wheel doesn't need much power. If you're parking in or something like that, that works pretty well. Also, the start-stop function is activated. Then again, the high seating position helps you relax also when it's very comfortable. When I look around here, well, the visibility to the rear is limited, definitely. Also, when I look at the back mirror, yeah, it's still okay, I would say. But, you know, when you have such a great design on the outside, it has to do something on the inside as well. But I think we can generally live with it. Now the train has passed by and we can continue driving. It's always the same with traffic and stuff. By the way, if you go to the race mode, the start-stop function is not deactivated. In most other race modes, that's the case. You really have to lift the brake, and then with the automatic gearbox here, ZF automatic gearbox, it's a normal converter, not a dual clutch transmission, but does really a great job. When you're in a normal mode, shifting is really flawlessly. So, other driving modes would also be Eco, for example. You can go with that one, and then, for example, the speed is not reduced that way when you let the car roll. That's a good thing to save fuel than if you want to roll the car as far as possible. Also, the throttle input is reduced a little bit, that you may be not driving that fast. And then there's also off-road mode available, and this one is suitable then when you got very slippery conditions. But should you go off-road with the F-PACE? Yeah, well, they got some expertise from Land Rover as for the off-road setup. So it's basically possible, and you do also have off-road capabilities. But of course, especially in the sport versions, you have also limited ground clearance, just weight something above 20 centimeters. And you shouldn't maybe get it too crazy in off-road driving. So I usually stay here with normal driving mode. Always shows me in the front in the display. And well, on the racetrack, I felt that when you get fast and the steering wheel gets a little bit soft, that may be not good for racers. Here with city riding, that's perfectly fine. Feels quite common than in an XE or XF. This is the front assist because it says forward alert. It's good that it's working, because to the Range Rover Evoque in front of me, I was rather close to it. So let's go further here, city driving. The suspension is really very comfortable. I like that. Maybe one of the things I like best with the car, because you got this command ride. The ride itself a little bit reminds of the Land Rover sisters, because you sit that high, got this suspension, and you think you're maybe like above all things. So would I rather go for this one than for an XE or an XF? Well, seating position wise, yes, definitely. If you more appreciate the rather sporty ride, then the XE and the XF will offer you more. But of course, this one here is always kind of an estate version, and this gives you more flexibility, for example. So overall, I would probably end up with the F-PACE, because sporty riding in everyday driving is maybe not that crucial than, for example, the possibility to put a lot of stuff in there to go with your family, or maybe to even put a bicycle in here without any additional equipment. GPS does a fine job so far as well. If we're going slower here and you see, well, it's not the most direct steering, but it's, let's say, direct enough. So overall, gives us a positive feeling. With the electric adjustment, I can also adjust the height and also how close the steering wheel is to me while I'm driving. That's also a safety factor, because when you have to do it manually, that's not so good to do that while driving. This diesel, for example, at lower acceleration points, let's do some 30 to 50, for example, see how that performs. Normal mode, 30 right now, and hitting, and 50. You see how fast the reaction is. So power-wise, you will not miss the petrol engine. there's also a smaller diesel available if you want to save some fuel, of course. And the smaller diesel is also lower in the entry price. And well, do we really need this huge 3-liter V6 diesel? That's a good question, because this is not a racing car, even if we've tested it on a racing circuit. So for SUVs, even if they're quite big, I would also pick the smaller engines. I would have no problem with that, because I would not use the SUV for racing, rather for relaxed, calm driving. The head-up display is really hard to film, but best is when I can just tell you something more of my experience. And it's it's not that exciting to look at, to be honest. For example, the BMW head-up display I've recently driven was way clearer in the display. Here another problem is also you get the heated front screen, which is good in winter times, but at the same time I do have problems a little bit with the visibility through heated windscreens, because you see those small heating cables. Not sure what's your experience with that one. Put me that one in the comments, definitely. So GPS leads us further, and driving calmly and slowly is definitely, I think, more pleasing with the F-PACE. Norway's got something in between city and racetrack driving, but on the countryside, and that's really a thing to enjoy with this higher seating position. Also, it stresses the factor here again, driving 90 kilometers an hour. Probably the Jaguar with the best sound insulation so far. That's my impression. And I mean, I'm telling you this even if an F-PACE as an SUV has another wind drag than a sedan. But here they've really done a good job with insulating the car, definitely. So I don't have to raise my voice at all. Such a beautiful landscape here in the Eifel region. Greetings to our German fans here today, beste Grüße. And of course, in the Eifel region, already quite close to the famous Nürburgring. But well, maybe an F-PACE R would be suitable for the racetrack. Maybe they will put some versions like this at a later stage, I don't know, because there's also a GLC AMG now, and Porsche is also offering a turbo. So maybe Jaguar also goes into this segment. And we've tested the Range Rover Sport on the Nürburgring as well. You could find this Autogefühl episode as well. Their difference was that they've really set that up way stiffer on the one hand, but at the same time the Range Rover Sport is also even, feels larger and heavier, and it actually is. German GPS voice, by the way. Yeah, I'm really enjoying slow cruising with this car, definitely. And you see, we get quite narrow old German cities here, and there's also the question, do you feel too big here with this car? Because that can always happen. And in general, I've told you we are in between compact and full-size SUV, and here you still have the feeling that you're not, driving a tank. Some full-size SUV you really think, oh wait, they're very comfortable and great in the motorway, but as soon as you're inside the city, you feel like, oh, it's a huge tank, I cannot handle it, I don't want to drive it. But here you got a rather, eased feeling. I don't feel too big for the situation we are in here right now. So those were the driving impressions with the all-new Jaguar F-PACE. In this case, especially with the 3-liter diesel V6. Now to show you another variant. This is a 2-liter D, the entry diesel version. It's also available just with rear-wheel drive and manual gearbox. Here we also have the auto gearbox, but we can tell you something more of the driving experience with the small diesel, because probably a lot of you guys maybe want to buy a cheaper F-PACE than the bigger engines. And what you can also see here, we got smaller alloys, and you can see how it looks like with 19-inch. And what you can see is when you don't have the S version, when you have the basis version on the outside, don't have this glossy diffuser in the rear. It's just more rather black, plain plastic. But overall, I think it doesn't make such a difference. Maybe more of the alloys. If you go maybe for 20-inch, then already the car looks very spectacular. So I wouldn't mind also going for a F-PACE in the basis version. It's already that beautiful. Difference in the engine is that we here got the two exhaust pipes at the left side. Maybe you know the 3-liter diesel that was here and here split. And one thing about the interior, because this one here is also a more plain interior, that we don't have the electric adjustment of the steering wheel. This looks strange, looks like key, and I was first skeptical, so this is the way to release the steering wheel adjustment. And it's not that bad, because some of the other adjustments that are way down there, maybe there's some sharp edges, which is not good. Here it's very comfortable to close it again as well. And here, for example, this is now not covered with fake leather. Here it's the plain version just with plastic. Okay, the other one maybe looks a little bit classier, but here again also not bad at all. And here we can also show you the normal instruments. If you don't pick the digital ones, then you get a normal speedometer left, RPM meter right, and just a smaller digital screen in the middle part, like we know, for example, also from the other Jaguar or Land Rover models. And this is also the smaller infotainment screen in the middle console. See it right here, it's way not that in a very wide format, and also has this hotkeys right and at the left side. Not bad at all, actually, so you can also save money by that. What is a big difference, however, is when you go for the rear view camera. It already looks quite good, but in the big screen you also have a better resolution somehow in the rear camera. Now the ride with the smaller diesel, 2-liter diesel, 180 horsepower. And I'm really looking forward to drive that one here. Because the question is, will it be enough? Will it be compared with the 3-liter diesel? Of course, this one here is lighter than, so maybe it will also do something for the handling. And we also have the different alloys, 19-inch versus 22-inch before. And that might also be a difference. So let's see. Here the driving modes will of course play more in effect, because in the normal driving mode, shifting up quite early, and when I go in the race mode, shifting down and going the gears way lower. For example, now when I'm in a normal driving mode, it takes a while until the real acceleration sets in, and you have to, wait for the shift down. However, if you go into race mode, then it happens earlier, and the gears are also drawn further. But the difference between the normal mode and the racing mode here is also not that extreme. I mean, the more power you have, the more can the difference be between the different riding modes, of course. But in general, the case is that an SUV is, not primarily driven as a sports car, but more as a city car, countryside, long motorway runs, but not in a racing style, but more in a calm style, and therefore is also not bad. From the comfort, as for the 19-inch alloys, they are better. But, well, for a 22, I really have to say I was amazingly comfortably. I didn't expect that. It was quite okay with the 22-inch. However, you feel here when going over some small bumps, you get a little bit more comfort with the 19-inch whatsoever. Steering is the same here. It's just really that you don't have so much boost with the engine when you want to get very fast from standstill, for example. Then it does make a difference. Riding itself is pretty similar from both versions, also as for the handling and suspension-wise and so on. Soon we'll get to the part where we can also hammer the throttle a little bit more, and we can tell you even more about the difference. So everything is free here. For example, acceleration now, let's say 40 to, let's see, 70, something like that. Let's go now. 70, 80, 90. I mean, yeah, the 3-liter diesel is power instantaneously, definitely, but this one really works well. Also, you know, in the higher speed region, let's say at 80 to 90 again, now 90, okay, yeah, that's, I mean, the bigger diesel is in a second or maybe 2 seconds faster in that respect. But I mean, it doesn't make such a difference for this vehicle, I think. So I can really say, unless you maybe really do some racing with it, the 2-liter diesel will do just fine, and it will surely consume less fuel. It's also one of those new Jaguar Land Rover Ingenium diesels, which is also combined with the ZF 8-speed automatic gearbox, not with the 9-speed, by the way, like in the Range Rover Evoque or in the Discovery Sport. That has something to do with how the engine is built here. And in all the Jaguar models, it's longitudinal, and therefore, so like this, not like this, and therefore this one here, only the 8-speed automatic gearbox can be attached, but it is said to be the even more expensive, more elaborate one. Of course, this car will also be fun in the petrol version, no doubt, but for the common use of this car, being as a comfortable SUV for long-term run also, this diesel will do just fine. That might have something to do also with the aluminum architecture we have here in the Jaguar F-PACE, because it makes the car a little bit lighter. And well, recently I've also driven in some compact SUVs, some smaller petrol engines, and it's really okay. You know, I'm generally not a big fan of downsizing again, but then if you look at the prices, for example, as well, and you see that the big engines are also the main cost factor, and you can save sometimes like 15,000-20,000 euros, or maybe a huge amount also in a monthly leasing rate, then you should probably also consider just going with the small engines then. Still a strange feeling driving a Jaguar SUV somehow, because it has never been here in this form before, but I'm steadily getting used to it. Again, if you also think about the sister models from Land Rover, over the whole corporation, you do get some kind of similar feeling. Yes, that's somehow true, because you know, the surfaces for the steering wheel, the columns here that are used at the steering wheel, the instruments, a lot of same parts are of course used, and therefore it also reminds us a little bit, you know, when you're driving another car. So there are some similarities, yes, but of course they have paid attention that enough things were different. So it really feels like, when you ask me, does it more feel like an upgraded in height XE or an XF? The XE really feels smaller and sportier. The XF also sporty because it's lower, but this one also size-wise, feeling-wise, it's shorter than an XF, but it rather feels like an XF that was put up, basically. And sometimes you think, well, Discovery Sport, for example, is way smaller and also has another handling. Range Rover Sport is bigger, feels heavier, and so this one here kind of resides in between. And that means when you are a Land Rover customer so far, you will also feel somewhat at home here as well. And when you're a Jaguar customer of the new models, definitely as well. If you're a Jaguar customer of the old models, you have to get used to it, but that also accounts for the XE or the XF, for example. Maybe the last acceleration test also when we are in the higher speed regions. At the moment we're going down a little bit. It's maybe a little bit faking the result. Now it gets a little bit straighter again. So if you, for example, accelerate from, let's say, 90 to 100, 105, something like that, let's go. 107 was it now. So you see the diesel takes a little bit of time until the turbo sets in, but still, even at higher speeds, you do have some power reserves. I mean, you can think about when you got some luggage inside or even with a lot of people. So overall, for me personally, if I would go for the bigger engine, I would probably go for the petrol one, you know, also to have the sound and really a refined petrol engine that is a lot of fun to drive. If I would go for a diesel, then I think I would just go for that one here, as it, you know, it's lighter and saves more fuel, definitely. And who knows? There might also be some plug-in hybrid variant coming. They're doing some tests right there. That would also be an interesting choice, definitely. So far, the small petrol engine is not offered. Not sure if they will do that in China. You know, there's this 2-liter petrol engine they have in the corporation. It will also maybe be an interesting one because, for example, also the other competitors in this segment are offering this. So that's it now for the 2-liter diesel. I hope you enjoyed all of the driving experience we've shown you here today. And now to our conclusion, all new Jaguar F-PACE, and we yet got another version for you here. We always like to show you different colors and trim levels. This one is the R Sport version, so not the S one. This one can also easily be combined with a smaller engine. 20-inch alloys we got here on here. It's a good mix, I think. You don't have to go for the 22-inch. These ones already look very impressive. And not having the ACC here, we got the 3D Jaguar logo, which is, from the visual part, definitely more beautiful. And in this dark red color, also a great choice, I think. And now the overall conclusion. First of all, as it is an SUV, I think it does not need the biggest engines. You will be just fine also with the smaller engines, because you don't tend to race so much. And it's more fun to drive fast in an XF or in an XE. If you go for the F-PACE, you'll be also just fine. You're having more this relaxed, comfy ride. And especially if you go for a bigger engine, then I would probably go for the petrol one to get the true experience then. Performance-wise, of course, the big diesel is without doubt is very, very powerful. From the visual aspect and the exterior, I think to me, this one is now the most beautiful SUV on the market. Tell me your opinion of that one in the comments right now. The interior is also pretty solid. They've worked on that and increased the build quality, definitely. And we also got a lot of nice visual aspects. However, some of the other German premium manufacturers are more leading in the interior, especially if I think of Audi. Then about the driving experience, because we earlier said in the lower engines we can rather compare with Mercedes GLC, for example, BMW X4. In the bigger engine versions, more maybe to a Porsche Macan. From driving sporty, yeah, it drives quite sporty for an SUV, but there were also other way sportier SUVs I've experienced so far. It doesn't feel too heavy, no, but there again also we have had other SUVs that drive way sportier. For example, BMW got that figured out quite well. But overall, they got a very competitive product, definitely, that will attract a lot of customers solely for the exterior. I'm quite sure that's the main reason, definitely, because no one is as spectacular as this one. But all the other aspects I think we covered, we were also quite satisfying. We brought you different versions, different aspects, infotainment-wise as well. And I want to hear your feedback on all the different aspects. Put them in the comments. And I'm quite sure you will join us for the next full review of Autogefühl. Here was Thomas. Thank you very much again for watching and supporting us. We see each other. See us here at Autogefühl.